Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic, let's do it. What's the scariest moment you've ever had while on vacation? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Almost died last year. Halfway through vacation, I started having pain in my groin or colon after taking my morning dump. Thought it was just something I ate. Several bloody poops and pain like I've never had before later, and I'm in the ER at 12:30 a.m. being told they thought I was septic and I had a 104.5 degree fever. After taking pain meds, stronger than morphine apparently, I passed out for like 30 minutes and they thought I was going to have a seizure and die, according to several doctors. Turns out I had several infections from unchecked leukemia. Weirdest thing is, we were vacationing in the Outer Banks of North Carolina when I got my cancer diagnosis. Back when I was a kid, my dad was diagnosed with cancer after vacationing there. Safe to say my family is avoiding it like the plague from now on. Not me, but in high school, my friend was on vacation with his family in Costa Rica. He went out surfing pretty far before he noticed someone even farther out waving to him for help. As he got closer, he realized that the guy had kids with him. The man asked my friend to bring his kids to shore and then come back and help him. My friend got the kids in safely, but by the time he got back to the man, he had drowned from exhaustion. My friend had to paddle this guy's body back to shore where his family was waiting. My friend was never really the same. My uncle decided to F around on a trail in Yellowstone near some hot pools. He was walking backwards on the trail and effing fell off right onto the crust near the hot pools. By sheer luck, he didn't fall through, and it was horrifying. I thought we were witnessing a man die. My mom and cousin, her nephew, traveled abroad. He had a severe allergic reaction to a pill he took and suffocated and died. My mom had to perform CPR on him, go to the hospital after getting exhausted, then arrange to have him flown back to America for burial. Was snorkeling with my wife and son. My wife was actually free swimming, so she went ahead of us. While my son and I took our time gently paddling over to the main snorkeling area, so she was probably about 50 yards away. Everyone else in the area was probably about 30 yards away. So I'm swimming, and suddenly I feel something start pushing me down into the water. I recover and realize my son, who is 17 and bigger than I am, is holding on to me. He took water into his snorkel and started panicking, so he grabbed onto me. Well, I'm trying to tread water and hold up another full-grown man and figure out how I'm supposed to get somewhere safe where we can stand or get to shore, and I can't manage two people. I start dipping in and out of the water because my arms and legs start getting tired and I'm treading for my son's life. If I'm not trying to hold him up, I can just dead man float until I catch my breath. Finally, I get the other snorkelers' attention and call for help, and a group of them come over. Someone with a paddleboard gets my son, and then I float and paddle as much as I can, while a dude who's there pulls me towards a boat. By the time I got on this little boat, I just about passed out from exhaustion. I legit thought both my son and I were goners. The crazy thing is, we're both good swimmers. If he wasn't panicking, he could have just swam to shore, which wasn't that far away, or just blew the water from his snorkel and continued swimming. And since he was pulling me down, I'm now panicking and not thinking straight to tell him what to do. One of the scariest experiences of my life. I got really drunk in New Orleans. Phone died and I couldn't get an Uber. Decided to walk back to my hotel. Could see it from where I was, so just started walking. Two women saw me walking and asked if I needed a ride. I said sure. Told them where I was going and jumped in the back seat. Oh boy. Obviously, idiotic drunk move. They drove me, and I could tell we weren't heading to my hotel. They were acting very strange, making phone calls. Stopped at a gas station to get some gas. I was sobering up real quick as this was all going down. At the gas station, they said the station wouldn't take cash, and we were just stalling. I managed to get $20 out of my pocket and put it on the center console, and luckily got out of the car, ran inside the gas station and waited there for 15 minutes. After a while, I took off running toward my hotel and made it there safely. I only ever told one person about this, and I wonder all the time what they had planned for me. Yeah, you were probably done for if you would have gone to that destination. So it was good that you had that sobering moment on the ride there because, again, it happens. We've all done silly things, but that was definitely reckless and potentially life-threatening. On an overnight bus from Delhi to Dharamsala, I'm female and was 26 at the time, we stopped at a gas station in the night so we could use the restroom. I was the last in line, and when I came out, the bus was taking off and headed back onto the highway. I sprinted after it, screaming, "No!" over and over at the top of my lungs. Someone must have heard or seen me, and the bus stopped. I truly do not know what I would have done had I really been left behind. Be me, 5-year-old on a beach vacation with family, in a typical gift shop in a tourist trap beach town. Was looking at the novelty license plates with kids' names. See mine, and for once, it's spelled the way I spell it. Freak out. Ask mom for it. She agrees, I think. The novelty wears off, and I get bored as they look at the stuff, and I ask if I can wait outside. On the steps, this old guy comes up and, using my name, said, "Hey, X, your parents said to come with me, and we were going to meet them later. Come on, X, let's go." I'm super confused. Cousin comes out seconds later, and the old guy disappears as I am distracted talking to a cousin. I realized later that he held and had gotten my name off my license plate display exchange. This close. Woman next door to me in a hotel was murdered. I heard her screaming, "Get out of here," a lot. Called the cops first and then the front desk to tell them the situation. Cops show up and start questioning me, asking if I knew her, was in the room, or if I saw anyone else. I didn't know her, never left my room except to answer the door for the police, and never saw anyone else. Turns out, she was running from her ex-boyfriend, as he was a known abuser, and he finally tracked her down. I didn't learn any of this until I saw a news article about the hotel a week later. Effing crazy. First day of my first international trip traveling alone. Went to a pub in London and had a few pints. Walked out the door to go back to my hotel and was attacked by a young man with a razor blade. He cut open my face down to the bone and then slammed me on my temple. Spent the next 3 days in the hospital, bandaged up like the Invisible Man, not knowing what my face looked like underneath. When I finally left the hospital, I had to borrow clothes, including underwear, since mine were at a place and saturated with blood. I got food poisoning while in Japan. I was with a tour group in a bus with no bathroom when the diarrhea struck. I had to wait until we arrived at our stop, which was 5 agonizing minutes away. We finally got out. I had to scramble to find a store that A, had a bathroom, and B, wasn't too busy to avoid the embarrassment of crapping my brains out. And it's not like anyone spoke English, so that made it harder. It took 10 minutes of me searching, all while holding in the impending diarrhea before I finally found one. 10 minutes is an eternity when you've been holding in liquid poop. I was drenched in sweat from the effort of holding it in and the fear that I might shit myself in public in a foreign country. In 1995, I was in Europe for the summer. The last week was for travel, and I was by myself, a 21-year-old female. As a broke college student, I took advantage of as many freebies as possible, and with my Eurorail pass, I got a free cruise on Lake Geneva. It ended up being much longer than I thought it would be, and it was a really hot day. Because of this, I switched from being on the sunny deck to going inside several times. After I had made the switch a few times, I noticed that a couple was mirroring my movements. but they weren't sitting together. I thought I was being paranoid, so I started moving even more frequently, but the couple followed my every move. Assuming they just wanted to take advantage of a lone girl alone, maybe to get my passport or plane ticket, I decided that I would rather just let them disembowel me. At the end, we were only 3 people on the boat. At this point, I was actually starting to get scared. It was a Sunday, and all my parents knew was that they needed to pick me up at the airport on Friday. If someone or something happened to me, there was no way to track my movements, and there would be a delay of nearly a week. Finally, I noticed that there was a police officer near the end of the ramp. I got off the boat and stood by him. The couple actually hung around for a little bit, but finally must have figured out that it wasn't going anywhere by myself. I still had about 6 hours until my train was going to leave and had planned to do a bit of sightseeing in the town we were in, but decided to play it safe and just stay in the train station and the airport where there were other people around. I have no clue what they wanted, but I still have no doubt that they were up to something. I have an interesting story from the 80s when I was a young child. Each summer my parents took us to Wildwood, New Jersey, and we would always have a blast. These memories have stayed with me. One summer we stayed at our usual reputable beachfront hotel where we had stayed in previous years. Our room has a living room, kitchen, and bathroom, and a hallway leading to the bedroom. I was probably 7 or 8 at the time, and I remember this well because it scared us. On the first morning, we found out our door was slightly open, even though we always locked it, deadbolted it, and secured the chain. My parents thought one of them must have been sleepwalking. The next night, my father slept in one bed with me, and my mother slept in the other bed with my sister. They slept together on the other sides of the bed to make sure they'd wake up if we got up, yell the door was opening again, then agreeing. Yet the door was open again the next morning. My father went to the main office to discuss the issue with the manager. The manager apologized and said there was no room available. He gave my dad a lighter bill for the week and had someone check the locks, which he found to be in a working order. That night, my parents placed all the luggage against the door. The next morning, the door was open and the luggage was thrown into the living room, with one of the items on the table. The following night, they put the kitchen table against the door. The next morning, the table was back in its place, even though it was heavy. My parents laughed it off, but later told us that they had no idea what was happening. No money was taken, and nothing was disturbed while we were at the pool or the beach. Was it my dad sleepwalking? He had never done that before. Was someone getting into the room somehow? Was it a ghost? I don't really believe in that, but whatever it was, we could never explain it. When I was 12, my dad took me to the Grand Canyon. He had bad arthritis and couldn't walk well, so I asked him if he wanted to walk down a trail, and he said he'd stay put, but I could go. I walked down the trail like a switchback, only a little ways. Then I turned to see if I could see my dad, and was waving to try to get his attention. I kept waving and backing up and waving, then turned, and my back heel was right at the edge of the Grand Canyon. I was not the smartest kid. I was mountain biking in Bolivia on the death road and stupidly wiped out on some loose gravel. I slid out and stopped right at the edge of a gigantic cliff, so close to going over the edge. I badly bruised my knee, but was otherwise okay and able to finish the ride. I'm a lot more cautious about my mountain bike trail surfaces now. My first year abroad in China, 2002. I'm in the northeast in the dead of winter, not too far from Siberia. I didn't speak a word of Mandarin then. Myself and some other foreign kids decided to take a 3-hour night train to a nearby city to check it out one weekend. The trains at that time were like cattle cars, people packed in wall to wall, lots of loud yelling. There was no call sign, that indicated when you reached your stop. Instead, a train employee would come out and come into the car and scream the name of the next stopover that you stop at. Well, none of us heard it when it came time for our stop being called. We only realized we might have missed our destination when we realized we'd been on the train for an hour longer than the trip was supposed to take. We approached the train staff member and tried to explain ourselves with hand gestures, repeating the name of the place we were going over and over. He points back the way we came, indicating we were indeed supposed to get off the train earlier. Then he gestures at us to wait. As we reach the next stop, he calls us over to some guy. We have no idea who this guy is and motions for us to go along with him. The guy leads us off the train and we emerge into an empty, silent, snowy train field. The guy starts walking up and down the trains. We presume trying to find the one that is going back the way we came. All of a sudden, the door of a building near the train station bursts open and two military uniformed guards roll out. But then everyone runs over screaming and hit our guy in the mouth. He's cowering and apologizing and talking a mile a minute. It's dawned on us that absolutely no one has any idea what's happening out. No one would ever find us. There are no cell phones if we disappeared. Our parents and our school would look for us in the city we were supposed to be in, no way out in the middle of nowhere. The guards take us into a full-on interrogation room. One bare light bulb hangs on a string from the ceiling, cement walls, barred windows, and metal desk. They start yelling at us. We don't know what they're saying. They start to yell at this guy. He's obviously scared and trying to explain something. We think we're right about the dog getting tossed in a gulag, never to be heard from again. Because maybe they think we're spies? Turns out they just thought we were sneaking around in the train yard because we were trying to dodge paying the return train fare of 8 rubles, which is around $1. All that over $1. We played ourselves, and we paid very fast, and they were immediately cool. They put us back on the right train, all smiles.